Well, we're nearing our feature complete version for this start to finish build about building our backyard pizza platform with friends. The idea here is we've so far talked about CI/CD, we've talked about working with metadata, we've talked about squashing metadata, we've talked about the Vercel platform, we've talked about actions, we've talked about authentication, we've talked about roles and permissions. We've really covered a full suite of getting started. And to be totally honest, this is what we would even call more or less a beginner project. But we can see just how all these pieces come together to really build a powerful platform, because once you have this put together, it really empowers you to build extremely complex projects. We're going to now add a little bit of an extra feature to our project here. So here we have myself authenticated as Tim, and we have a couple of pizzas. We've talked about the ability to create new orders and be able to track those. What we want to do now is actually go ahead and create an ability for our chef to be able to see the incoming orders and be able to start, making pizzas for the friends, because nobody wants a to-do list for a pizza. They want to be able to process that. We've added some additional functionality in the meantime, so we have the ability now to come in here and log out. We can view this profile, which brings you back to the dashboard here. We also have dashboard and kitchen view. Now, kitchen view we're going to head into now, and this is where we're going to see some interesting things here. So kitchen heroes only from this part out. What we've done here is added a subscription that allows us to go ahead and fetch this content. And that's basically all we've got, is essentially the same thing as our active orders. But what we want to do here is be able to go ahead and process the incoming orders. Now, at the moment, myself as Tim, I only have access to seeing my orders. I can't see everybody's orders. And we need to solve that by creating the ability for a user like Tim or any of our other users that we could basically upgrade into an admin user. Now, there's a number of ways to do that. One of the approaches would be to create a new user profile in our account, like an admin user, and be able to work with different roles inside of Hasura. So we have user and then something additional. Now that would require additional login parameter or paths and everything else, and a different user account and some linkage between these. We're going to look at a more simple strategy here to be able to create an admin, and this is going to be fascinating for us to work with. So let's go ahead and head over to our project just to have a look at what our kitchen content looks like. So if we look at our kitchen page here on our code editor, we can see that all we've got here is a simple subscription we're pulling in using with our hooks, and we're mapping that data over just a little bit. All pretty standard things up to this point. What we want to do now is head inside of Hasura, and we're going to create another table now. And so from here, we're going to create a new table, and this is going to be called admins. And this admin, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of my favorite column types here. And then for this ID type here, we're going to go ahead and just use a serial type. I think it's actually just integer. Or we're not going to do it that way. I'm going to add it as an ID from here. We're going to say it's an auto-incrementing primary key. Okay, so we have our ID, we have our updated app, created app, and now we're going to go ahead and add in the friend ID, and this is going to allow us to be able to associate one of our friends as an admin. And so we're going to come in here, we're going to say this is our unique ID here, and this will allow us to make this connection. Additionally, our friend ID will be a unique column here because it's not going to be duplicates, and that will allow us to enforce some constraints. Yeah, so this looks to be about correct. Let's go ahead and also add in a foreign key, and we're going to say that our foreign key references our friend field, and that's going to be the friend ID from here is going to reference the ID from there, and we're going to say that on a delete violation, we're going to cascade that, so that way we'll be able to remove them from our admin field. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save. And from there, we now have essentially everything we need to create an admin. So what we can do is we're going to head over to our API now, to our data, and I'm going to go ahead and get Tim's information here. So Tim is ID of 5, and so This is the part where you would have some other interface that would be only available to people with admin permission. And we come into our role now. We're going to say for our admins. So we come inside of admins now. We're going to go ahead and insert a row here, and we're going to add the friend ID of 5. And this allows us to have a new admin available for this interface. And so with this enabled, we can now actually set specific checks and controls so that we can access more data than just ours. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and actually log out of Tim, and we're going to log in as I think it's Jen. It was the other user, Jan, and we're going to be able to add a couple of pizzas from her profile as well. So we're going to log out here. And then we're going to add in Jan here, and we're going to add in her password. Unfortunately, everybody has the same password in my system. And we're going to go ahead and log in, and we're going to create a new pizza here. And so these are the pizzas that Tim has created at some point. So spicy tuna sounds good. We're going to go ahead and order that. And we can see spicy tuna is now an open order. And we can go ahead and actually refresh this. We should probably handle the use case there for after loading. This is pretty trivial to update. And so now we have spicy tuna. It's an open order. And yeah, we can see that what we should now have when we log back out, we go back over to Tim's account. But we're going to go ahead and go to the kitchen here. And we can see now that we still only get ours for Dragon Breath. We don't see the spicy tuna. And here we should actually have access to all the orders now. So how do we do this? How do we handle the orders? Well, we do this with our permission change now. So underneath permissions, where our user had the select permission to be able to select just their personal ones, what we're going to do is actually add in a custom one here now. So that actually we're on friends. We want to be under order, pizza order. What we have under our permissions for select, what we want to say is not this custom check that we have here. We're going to say, so we have friend ID equals the user ID. We're going to create a Boolean one here, and we're going to say an OR case. And so what we'll say now is, I'll say that the OR case here is that, well, the first nest underneath OR is going to be if the friend ID, so the user ID equals my own. Okay, so that's the existing or the case for getting my own pizza orders. The second case is we're going to do a different case called exists, and we're going to say in the table for the public schema here, we're going to say that underneath the admin panel, we want to see that friend ID there equals my ID. So if my ID exists in the pizza order or in the admin table, then I have access to these content. So basically, I'll have access to everybody that I can be able to then view their content. So we go ahead and we hit save permission. I just want to make sure I had all those columns enabled. I do, good. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing now for update. And update, we don't generally want to have anybody be able to update orders. So here we can actually just do the basic one. We'll say with a custom check. So we'll say with a custom check, we're going to do the exists again. And now not even, because I don't want even users to update their own orders. I want to just have it be for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the schema here is actually the default we still have. So we're going to go to the admin table, and it's going to be where that friend ID is equal to my ID. This will allow the logged in user who's got an ID and admin to be able to make changes, and they're going to be able to update the order status, and we're going to actually only let them do that. So we'll only let them be able to change order status, and we'll hit save permissions. So with those permissions in place now, if we head back over to our kitchen and we refresh this here, we might be able to already see this working. And there we can actually see spicy tuna is now coming up for myself. Now I haven't added in a gate here for the logic to be able to block access to kitchen if you're not admin. This is something we could implement. It's going to be a little bit out of scope for right now. The idea here that you've seen with the permissions control is the ability to actually say who has access to what. If we were to log out here just to verify that our logic is working, we're going to go ahead and view the kitchen as well here, where we say that, again, it's Jan. And if we log into the kitchen, what we'll see is ideally only our spicy tuna. So Jan can only see her own orders in the kitchen, which I guess is probably a fine behavior. She can see what the status is of her own kitchen, the process of her kitchen life cycle, pizza life cycle journey. So let's go ahead and log on to Jan now, and we're going to go back to our user Tim, and I'm very grateful that I chose very short usernames here. We're going to go ahead and log in, and we can see again, if we go back to the kitchen, that we have now Dragon Breath and Spicy Tuna as our two coming through. It looks like chilies are definitely up in popularity. So what we want to do now is we want to implement this next behavior, which is going to cycle these from one life cycle to the next life cycle for what they're going to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and actually create an API test here. We're going to call this the update order. And what we're going to do is we need to pass in two parameters here. We need to first pass in the ID of the order, and we need to be able to pass in the status, which I believe is string, or there might be a special term for the enum type. We're going to find out here in a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and say now this is a update pizza order, and we're going to update the order where the ID equals the ID that we're passing in. Great. And then we're going to actually set the value for the order status to being status. Now here's where we're going to see if I actually have the right name or not. It looks like that actually works. So actually order status enum is what that needs to be called. Order status enum. That'll make that one happy. And now this is just complaining we don't have a subset of fields. We can go ahead and grab the ID returning from, I don't have select. So what do I have? Oh, it's a returning because it's a array. Okay, returning, and then we can get the ID of the update. Good. This will actually allow us now to pass in the order ID and the status to be able to update to the next process. We'll take this over, and again, only Tim is going to have access to this. We're going to go to our queries, and we're going to say new file, and we're going to say so we'll say update order.graphql. And then we're going to go and paste this in. So we have that now. We're going to go ahead and say yarn code gen. So we get the new query brought over. And now underneath our kitchen, we're going to go ahead and import this. So we're going to use the mutation again. So we're going to say use the update order mutation. And we're going to go ahead and now say that the const, and we're going to actually we're not going to grab the response off of this, so we're just going to call this the update order function here. I don't have any issues, I think, with that. Right, just not being used, which is fine. And we need to go ahead and call this correct here. So we have everything set up the way we need, so we can actually use this update order mutation to be able to handle things. I don't have to do any thenning on this. I don't have to do any kind of funky behavior, because what we know is I don't have a I'm going to be using subscriptions. So everything that I do here, I'll see a server state representation of what's being updated. All right, so what we want to handle now is on this click down here, and on this click we're going to go ahead and say on click. We're going to say the update order mutation, and here we pass in our variables. So we need to pass in the ID, and that is going to be coming off of the order ID itself. So we can just pass in order ID. And then we need to pass in the status. Now here I've done a little bit of a funky thing where what we have is this ability to map our current statuses. So these are the stati, if you will, that we currently have, and I've mapped them to next values here, pseudo state tree-ish, if you will. So I can come here to say status type, And then I'm going to go ahead and actually grab my order.order status. And then I can actually just pass in the next value. So if you don't feel like using, if you don't feel like cheating TypeScript too much and you want to do the, I guess, acceptable TypeScript cheating of as, we're able to just tell it, yes, this is actually going to be correct. Now that is going to be brittle. This is about the dirtiest bit of code, hopefully, in the entire project. There are going to be nicer ways to handle this if you wanted to, but we're going to go ahead and work with that anyways for now. And I think the concepts here should be pretty strong. So the theory is now if I hit this button, I should be able to mutate this into the next status, which should be baking. And looks like I have a yeah. So I don't have order on the items here. We could simply just sort those by whatever their logical order is. Probably if we just tell it to sort, it will find a sort of types. And so we can say after dragon breath comes in ready, and we can see spicy tuna. Oh, and I'm not even seeing the UI right now. So let's go over to the UI here, sorry. So we can see that we did next. I'm going to go ahead and process spicy tuna to the ready state. I'm going to process that now to baking, and that should now be processed. Oh yeah, because I processed that already to the next state, and then it was gone because it's out of my filter. And then baking, once we hit that to next, it's now ready. Great. So that allows us to be able to actually set a value. We could allow the user to be able to update just their their own personal status. If I go to my kitchen now, so we can see this is Jan's here. So if we log out now, we'll be able to see that she has access to this. Let's go ahead and just do a couple of quick patches for the project we had. So on dashboard, we'd seen that when we created pizza, that's not actually being added automatically. And then let's go ahead and actually add a button here that allows a user to be able to pull up their own, go ahead and take it essentially. So they're able to process that into Gone and be able to eat it. So what we need to do is we're going to go to our permissions here for the order status, which is what we need to do to handle the Gone behavior. We're going to go ahead and track these new relationships here just so we have access to them from the admin and the friends. So if we go to order for the pizza order, we're going to go to permissions here. And on the user, we're going to allow them to update. So we're going to do the same behavior that we'd had here before. We're going to say column update permissions, right? So we go to the row update permissions. So we have this exist table. We're going to switch this out now to an or, and then we're going to allow the other use case being a person is able to change them. So after having a bit more of a look, we're going to add a bit more of a complication to our process here. And so what we're going to do is we have this or statement, and we're going to switch down here to our second part of the or, and we're going to introduce an and now. So now we're going to have an and where we say the friend ID is going to equal to the current user. So that's fine. So we have case 1, if you're an admin, you're allowed to. Case 2, we're going to go ahead and say with this and the friend ID equals x0 user ID. Great. And the secondary piece, we're going to say that the order status is equal to, and we're going to go ahead and actually say that this is a static value now, and that's going to be gone. And that's going to be a ready. So they're only able to ever update this if the current status is ready. And then we're going to add a secondary check here where we're going to go ahead and say with a, so we're going to have a post update check here where we're going to say that with a custom check for the post update, and that's going to be that the order status is now going to be set to gone. So basically we're saying that the after fact has to be where the order status is gone, so it has to have been changed to gone, and the before insert has to be that they have these permissions. So the current item is ready and it's theirs, or they happen to be in an admin, and then the post update check is that the status afterwards has to be set to gone. So we're going to actually, this would be a little bit brittle here. What we need to do is we need to have a special handler here. So we're going to do the or. So we're going to say that so again, we're going to do the admin check here. So we're going to say that the exists. We're going to repeat the exact same step we had above. So in the condition for the post update check, we're going to say exist. We're going to say that on the admin, the friend ID is the same as mine. And then we're going to do the and operator here, except for in this case where it's going to be like, so if it's mine, right? Then we need to say that this actually is going to be the case for friend. I'm sorry, that the order status now needs to read gone. So if we go ahead and we save these, then what we should have is a rather robust permission set. And so if we come back now to our use case, what I do want to verify is that we didn't put a limitation on ourselves for our own pizza. So we're logged in here. Let's go ahead and add an order for ourselves now. So we're going to go ahead and order a demo pizza. We're going to order a Hawaiian pizza, and we're going to order a dragon breath pizza. Okay, so we added a couple of pizzas here. We can see that they're all open. So the theory is if I go to the kitchen now, what I should be able to do is I should be allowed to change this status because the default permission is that I actually am still an admin. And that won't let me be able to change anything. Spicy tuna is not mine. I'm going to go ahead and try and hit this here, and we can see that my sorting is still a little bit, I need to put a concrete sort in there, but we can see that I'm still able to process my own orders, no problem. Let's go ahead and actually fix the code on that so that we have a concrete sort. We're going to just verify this all open orders here. So we're going to go ahead and say all open orders. We're going to just put a helpful sort on there. So we're going to say that the pizza order, we're going to add an order by, and we're going to go ahead and order that by the created at date. Okay, so we should have that now fixed. Let's go ahead and come over into our query here. Let's update that. Go to the kitchen. We're going to remove that sort that we put on there. Not dev. We want to do cogen. So now if we refresh this, we should be able to see that if we go to ready now, it should stay in place. Very good. We have things staying in place. Okay, what we want to verify now is that if I go to the other user now, if I go to Jan, we're going to order another pizza for her. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and order another pizza for her. So we're going to go ahead and order a new one here, and we're going to order a Hawaiian. We're going to go ahead and order that. So now if we go to the kitchen, we should see that she has two. She has spicy tuna and Hawaiian. Now the only things that she should be able to do is be able to update spicy tuna. She should not be able to update the Hawaiian. So if we hit spicy tuna, we see that that does work. She's able to update her own. But if we try this one, we should see that that fails. And if you look at the actual GraphQL request here, we should be able to see that that did not go through. And if we refresh this, we can see that she is not able to actually update her own orders here because they are not set to that the post update would be incorrect. So she's not able to update those. All right, that's great. So we can go ahead and log out of that profile now, and we can go back over and be able to verify now. We could do things like conditional UI to see what kind of permissions somebody has. We could say admins have certain roles, and then we could kind of fetch those permissions for what users have and admins have. But we're going to go ahead and go back now to our Tim user. And so we're going to go to the kitchen here. We should be able to process that Hawaiian here forward to the next step. And now we have a couple of Hawaiians open here. And what we wanted to add now, so we have the fixed sort. We wanted to add a couple of features here. One is to be able to trigger a refetch on the when a pizza is ordered. We also wanted to be able, because right now it's kind of hitting a cache layer. One is we wanted to also be able to add for a user to be able to pick up their own pizza once it's ready. So let's go over to our code now. And we're going to go to the open orders. I think I called it active orders actually. Great. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to be able to do a conditional check here. And we're going to say that the status of this here, we can actually reuse our query on this too. So we're going to put a button here at the end. We're going to call this pickup. That should give us a button there. Great. And we're going to go ahead and put some classes on there. We can see, again, you don't see the UI that I see. Maybe we should just I should move this window here so you're able to see a little bit of the benefit that I see. So we have pickup, okay. We're going to go ahead and put a button class on it. We're going to put button small, which is part of the UI library I'm using. And we're going to go ahead and do a flex end, I believe is the styling. It's a little better, but I don't think it's flex end, so we're gonna say margin left is set to auto. I think that should shift it to the end here. There we go. So we have a nice button for picking up. Now we wanna make this conditional. So we're gonna go ahead and say order.status equals, and then we're gonna go ahead and call this the ready state. So that will be a conditional check. It will only be there for things that are ready. And when that does exist, we're going to go ahead and bring in our mutation the same one we had used from our mutation from the kitchen view. We're going to say use the update order mutation. And we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to go ahead and say const. And we're going to not worry about the response. We're just going to go ahead and say update order. And this will allow us to take this down inside of our button here. So we can do a same on click. And we will say update the order. And now we can pass in our variables. And the variables we're going to use are going to be the ID. And that will be for the order.id we have here. And then we have the status, which is going to only be set to gone. And that will be gone as the enum type. What's it complaining about? It complains that it's called I need to get the name of the enum that it wants. Order status enum. Which we probably have to go ahead and import. And so that will now allow us to pick up our pizzas as soon as they are done. Let's have a look at the UI. So again, we see nothing there. So we're gonna now head out. We're gonna log out as Jan here and be able to process that on to the next step. So logging in again is Tim, who is in the kitchen. We're gonna go ahead and process both of these. Actually, he's ready to pick up. Can we pick up one of his? We should be able to. Yeah. And then we can go to the kitchen here. We're going to process those two Hawaiians into the ready state. Because I don't remember whose is whose. And we're going to go ahead and log back out now. Head back over to Jan. Log in. And now Jan should be ready to pick up her pizza. If we head back over now to Tim's account, what we should see is that in the kitchen, that other Hawaiian is now gone, and there's two that are ready for pickup. They happen to actually be his. So we can switch over to the dashboard view, and we're going to go ahead and let Tim go ahead and eat now with his two pizzas. And with that, we have basically refactored this application to be able to support rather complex permissions for admin users and regular users by reusing the same table and just enhancing that with an exist table. And that basically takes us up for a full feature complete area. In the next video, we'll do a little bit of a wrap up and kind of a summary, and we'll see you there in the closing.